Get over it. This is a video on how to get over resentment in honor of me talking you through the steps and in anticipation of the free online course that you can join on One Commune, where you'll be able to go through the 12 steps with me. Here, I'll give you a more cursory example of how the steps are worked in my life. Step 4 is where you do an inventory of your whole life, breaking down every resentment you've ever felt against yourself or anyone else. It could be as small as, like, you know, some dog's done a stool on your lawn. My dog does do stools on my lawn. Or it could be as significant as apartheid. You know, it could be a big thing or it could be a small thing. The inventory process is a way of cataloguing and analysing the resentments that are shaping your character and therefore your experiences as you go through life. In extreme cases, causing you to become a drug addict, an alcoholic, or someone who's super suicidal or got eating problems or gambling problems. But an inventory will work for anyone. This I will be exploring on the online 12-step course that I do for One Commune. But for now, let's look at this inventory idea. If you're making an inventory, you need to make 4 columns. You write down the person, place or thing that you resent, you write down the reason you resent them, you write down 7 aspects of self that could have been affected, and you write down in the 4th column the part of you that you can own. So the step 4 inventory in itself can cover the whole scope of your life. You try not to do bloody absolutely everything, but you don't leave out anything major. You cover all the major relationships, all your major beliefs, all your major failings, all them things that you feel ashamed about and afraid of. You inventory them, you get them down on paper, so they're no longer things in your belly and in your brain, but they're on a bit of paper and you can break them down. You do not do this process alone. You find someone that's also undertaken this process and you do it with them. And if you need help finding that person, come to old Russ and I'll help you to find that person. Or you can email me at help@russellbrand.com and we'll send you in the right direction. But you have to say specifically what your problems are. Okay, so this is how it breaks down. Say me, for example, like earlier I went to the doctors, it was a new doctors, and I had to fill in some forms. I don't want to fill in no forms when I'm a doctor. You know, when they go fill in some forms, I think, I'm not going to fill in those forms. I'm not part of your machine. I'm a free man. So if I, like, anything that causes you to feel disturbed or out of sorts or pissed off, this is a resentment. The optimum state for us to go through life in is relaxed, calm, serene, able to understand that we don't need to deploy these ancient animal energies of competition or domination or aggression or sexual libidinous energy unless we're in a situation where that's appropriate. We don't want these subliminal unconscious energies continually being manipulated and directed towards consumer purchase or tribal identification that's not useful to you but it's useful to some elite that's governing you and controlling your energy. No, you don't, do you? Well, I'm going to teach you, because I've been taught how to, avoid doing that by understanding the reality of your inner life a little more clearly. Once you've done all of the steps, you can use this inventory process for much more minor things in your life, such as me using them for little resentments I pick up over the course of the day. Like today when I went down the doctors and they asked me to fill in a form. I hate filling in a form. I put in the first column, the doctors. The second column, I'd put for making me fill in a form. The third column, I'd put the areas of myself that are affected. Pride, what other people think of me. Self-esteem, what I think of myself. Personal relations, the script I give others, what I expect other people to say to me. Like I want to do their part of the relationship as well as my own part. Sexual relations, as above, but pertaining to sex. Ambitions, my vision for how I see the world. Security, what I need to be okay, which is literally a roof above my head, food in my belly. And the inclusion of this category is very beneficial and helpful, actually, because it helps me to recognise that actually most of the things I'm resentful about ain't that bloody important, because they don't affect my security at all. They're just stuff that affects my imagination, my imagined version of myself, i.e. my pride or my self-esteem. These things are highly affected by the way we envisage or envision ourselves. Final category, finances. Pretty obvious what that is. So this resentment that I have against the doctors for asking me to fill in a form, does it affect my pride? Yeah, because I feel like I'm the sort of person where as soon as I go to the doctors, they should go, oh, you don't have to fill in a form. You're spectacular. We'll just take you on merit, just sort of by virtue of the fact you've even deigned our doctors. So that's pretty arrogant, as a matter of fact, isn't it? Does it affect my self-esteem? Not really. It's a pretty minor thing. Does it affect personal relations? Yeah, I'm trying to control the person. Remember, even when I was talking about pride, I kind of improvised my expectation as to how the other person would behave. Now, if you extrapolate this system from the example I'm using, a somewhat frivolous one, to a likely more influential relationship in your life, like your romantic partner, imagine the expectations you place on that person. You tell them things, you know you want them to respond in a certain way, you know you want them to comfort you or G you up or boost you up. You know, we continually project these imaginary situations and scenarios onto other people and then are pissed off when they don't play their part as we would have them play it. Sexual relations as above. Now, like if I was so affected by having to fill in a form in the doctors that I had to act out sexually, go and look at porn or something, then I would tick that category, but in this instance I didn't. Worth remembering though that the sexual relations category is included here because libidinous activity is significant in the behaviour of any human, even I would say when it isn't obvious that it's your sexual energy that's being affected. Ambitions, yeah, that's like an overall vision for how you see your life. My ambition, I guess, is a person that goes through life without any resistance or any problems at all. People just going, yeah, you don't need to fill in the form, you can just do what you want, come into the doctors, Mr. Brown, do as you wish. Security, no, it doesn't affect my security. It doesn't affect my security at all. Finances, no, it doesn't affect my finances. So the areas that are affected are my pride, my personal relations, and my ambitions. So in a way, this shows you that this is a moderate resentment. I felt something, and in my life, I don't want to go through life feeling negative things. I want to evolve to the point where I have not a frictionless life. I recognise that that's part of being alive, but I don't want to dwell in personal and psychological circumstances that are constructs when they could be deconstructed. The fourth column, and there's much more detail in this when you sign up to this recovery course that I'm doing on One Commune, sign up for free, is you ask yourself, where am I making a mistake? Well, I'm making a mistake by expecting to be treated differently in the doctors. That's a bizarre error. You ask yourself, what mistake am I making? What mistake am I making in this situation? Oh yeah, I've got unrealistic expectations in the doctors. I want to be treated differently. I want the doctors to change their way of conducting business. And then you ask yourself, am I being selfish, dishonest and self-seeking? Yes, I am being selfish because I'm not considering anyone else's feelings. Am I being dishonest? No. Am I being self-seeking? Yes, I'm thinking only about myself, not about the people that are working in the doctors. What is my fear? Whenever you have a resentment, there's an underlying fear. There's something in you that you're not addressing. If you examine it closely enough, even something as trivial as this, I can see my fear is that, oh, I'm not important. I need people to continually on the outside validate me and treat me as if I'm important in order to feel important. So if someone gives me a form, of course on one level, look, I don't like filling in forms, so I think it's all bullshit and I don't want to live in some bureaucratic administrative place where you do phatic and empty gestural things like fill in forms just because it's the done thing, because of their insurance or because of their records. Who cares about their records? Who cares about their insurance? You know, unless something goes wrong. So there is that perspective. But the fear perspective is I'm expecting the external world to validate me. I'm expecting people to continually mark out my difference, to treat me as if I'm special, because there must be an inner lack, an inner deficiency. I must have a perception of how I should feel, a perception of how I want to be treated to other people. Then I set these bars, these standards, and then I'm unhappy when they're not fulfilled. This is why I need this analytic tool to identify what these problems are. Okay? So the fear there is I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And if you examine that fear further, oh well, if I'm not good enough, I'm always going to get into situations where I'm not treated well, no one values me enough, people didn't like me when I was a kid. You're off in a psychological storm. Our world is full of people acting on unconscious impulses, behaving in ways that they think is because of the circumstances they're in, but is in fact because of the circumstances they've been through. This simple, trivial example about filling in forms in doctors is but one of those in my personal case. And I would say that it could be this could be employed on a global scale and on a personal scale on any issue, serious stuff. It works on serious issues like abuse, violation and people transgressing against you. You can still work this process. Another category in this is character defects, which I won't go into in detail because it was a whole other thing. And the other one is harms. Have I harmed anyone? Well, I suppose maybe I was a little bit what do I want to say? Was I brusque? Was I brusque in a doctor's? God, I wouldn't like to think of myself in such a way. Possibly, though, I was. So that would mean I've been harmful to the people working in that doctor's. So I should go back there and apologise, which I can do. And if I do that, then I'm a person who's making a choice to live on a spiritual path, amending their way as I go. Will I do it? Who knows? If you want to learn more about this, remember to sign up for the free course on onecommune/recovery, where I'll talk you through the 12 steps in detail, provide you with all the materials and tools that you need to learn about this. If you think anyone else will benefit from this system, please send it to them and make sure they get the necessary information. Whoever you are, wherever you are on the spectrum of addiction, you can use this system, because we are all on the spectrum of addiction, and we can all be liberated by finding inner connections in place of the external demands we're placing on the world. Terence McKenna said we're all addicted to things. We've let it drive us crazy. What is consumerism other than various levels, gradients of addiction to things? Here is the way out. Thank you.